Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Sean from Retaliation Resale, and I'm going to do another edition of Bathroom Books, which are basically 7 books that I find interesting for this week. For whatever reason, it might be they're valuable, or they're strange, or they have some personal connection to my childhood. And I apologize for being a little late. I try to do these every week. That's why I do 7 books, but I'm on crutches because I managed to bang up my knee, and I'm getting the MRI on Tuesday. So I've been hobbling around. I haven't really been able to do a lot, but I wanted to do this edition because I haven't done one for a while. And it's called Bathroom Books because the house is full of books, and the bathroom is the only place that has some room. So that's why it's Bathroom Books. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. First book is Understanding Rap. Explanations of confusing rap lyrics you and your grandma can understand. Now, this book has no high resale value on Amazon. I'm not going to send it in. The cover's a little dirty, but it has one of my favorite rap lyrics in it that I wanted to talk about. So there's 2 rap lyrics that I like a lot, that I like to quote. One is by Eric B. and Rakim, and I think it's from In the Ghetto, and it's the line, "It ain't where you're from, it's where you're at," which basically is an updated version of "When in Rome, do as the Romans do." But I like that. Doesn't matter where you're from. Right now, right here, this is how we're going to do it. So, and the second line is it's from Dr. Dre album, but it's Snoop doing "Getting funky on the mic like an old batch of collard greens." And I love that because I love Southern food. I'm a gardener. I love collard greens, beet greens, turnip greens, whatever. You know, you boil them with some garlic and onions, and so good, so good. But anyway, this book interprets the lyrics. So, because they both cause people to take notice, someone rapping in a skillful manner, someone talking in a skillful manner. Because they both cause people to take notice, someone rapping in a skillful manner is compared to an odoriferous quantity of leafy plants that have been cooked and have been sitting at room temperature for quite some time. And that's their definition. Basically, this is just a book of quotes and little explanations. It sells for like $13. You know, there are writers out there that have, slaved their whole life. They've written the great American novel. They can't get published, but someone can put out an Understand Rap book and probably make money off of it. But yeah, had one of my favorite quotes in it. That's why I brought it out. This is another book that I like books like this. Prisoners of Geography. 10 maps. That was one of the cats. Okay. Cat just jumped out of the bathtub. Prisoners of Geography. 10 maps that explain everything about the world. And I love books like this. Hey. He's jumping in and out. There's another cat. I think Heartache's in the bathtub. But you're coming back a third time? You're coming back a third time. All right. This is a little guy. He's a cutie. His name's Eldred. He's been on past editions. There you go. Okay. Prisoners of Geography. 10 maps that explain everything about the world. And I love it because it's... Okay, there goes Hardy. No peace in the bathroom. What's going on, man? That's why I keep the door closed. It's basically 10 maps that explain the world. So they talk about how certain areas of the country are where a lot of stuff happened, a lot of events of the world, and why it's so important. So this book is actually worth $2 or $3. But I like books like that sort of explain history. And I had an old professor, Forbes Keaton, in high school. Went to Berkeley, had a teacher that said basically you can learn everything you need to know from the word aspire, ASPIRE, artistic, social, political, intellectual, religious, economic. That will basically kind of explain cultures if you can break them down by those aspects. Same kind of thing with this book. Different areas there's a map here and why it's important, what's going on in the area. Um, Historical book, in a sense, but a great way to learn. Kind of a different slant, kind of makes learning about history a little interesting. This other book, I love the cover. It's New York. I recognized it right away. It took me a second. This is a rat, and the book is called Rats. And it's observations on the history and habitat of the city's most unwanted inhabitants. I lived in New York for a couple of years, April of 1990 to October of 1992. I remember I had a girlfriend that lived on the same block as the Hells Angels, so I think that's like 3rd Street. I remember walking out of her house and there was an empty trash can, metal trash can in the middle of the road. And as soon as we hit the middle of the street, it scared all the rats. And there must have been like, I swear to God, like 50 of them. And they all fled. And they just sort of, it was like a wave going down the street. It's in slow motion. It was the craziest thing. And I was like, oh, cool. And she was like, no, not cool. But that was my first big rat sighting. You know, after that, no, not so much. But anyway, rats. I think there's more rats in New York than people. I live in San Francisco. I'm a gardener. There's more dogs than children. That's sort of the big thing. That's why the dog people have so much clout. I don't care if they have power. I just care that, you know, more dog owners need to pick up after their dogs because, unfortunately, you know, being a gardener, I deal with a lot of dog poop. So, all right, book number 4, Unthinkable, Jamie Raskin. This is a political book, and normally these books are not worth anything. There's only 2 exceptions. Let's see. The former vice president, his wife. Oh, God, I forget. I just sold her a book. It was like $3.50 profit. And then a book about Donald Trump, but it was like a coffee table book that normally sold for like 40, 50, or 60 bucks. And that, I think I sold it for like 20 bucks. But it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum. You know, Jimmy Carter, Barack Obama, Bush, Clinton, Princess Di, Prince Charles, any of these kind of political books, they just don't sell. They come out, they're on the New York Times bestseller list for about 6 weeks, and then they just drop off the face of the earth. But the reason I bring this one up, Unthinkable, Jamie Raskin, because I used to know this guy. All right. I'll get to that in just a second. But basically, this book is on December 31st, 2020, Jamie Raskin, the only son of Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin, tragically took his own life after a long struggle with depression. 7 days later, on January 6, 2021, Congressman Raskin returned to the House to help certify the 2020 presidential election results when violent insurrectionists led by right-wing extremist groups stormed the U.S. Capitol, hoping to hand 4 more years of power to President Donald Trump. All right. Whether you are pro or anti-Trump, Democratic, Republican, moderate, centrist, whatever, don't care. That's not the reason why I picked up this book. I picked up this book because I used to know Jamie. And when I say used to know, basically I met him a couple times. But I had an ex-girlfriend that moved from California to Boston. I went to visit her a couple times. Jamie was one of her roommates. So this was back in like 86, 87, 88. Long time ago. He was still a law student, not a congressman. You know, I picked it up. I was like, oh, Jamie, you got married, had a son. Oh, great. Oh, son committed suicide. Very sad. Didn't really know Jamie that well, but met him a couple of times. Was always very gracious, quite the host, you know, kind of think like, welcome to the house, you know, make yourself at home. If you need anything in the fridge or whatever, just take it. Be welcome. So, sad to hear about his son. And he seemed like a very good guy. I'm sure he still is. Doesn't matter his politics. People are people, and I wish people would just kind of realize that. Doesn't matter. My dad is probably more conservative than I am. My dad's a great person. I love him. I'm maybe a little more left. Hey, isn't that amazing? You could have a different sort of political leaning from somebody else, and they can still be good people. Something to think about. So while I'm channeling my dad, Baden-Powell, The Two Lives of a Hero. Robert Baden-Powell basically founded Boy Scouts. I was a Boy Scout. My dad was in scouting, just retired earlier this year after many, many years of service. And it's interesting because I believe he was the Scoutmaster for my old troop in Carmel Valley, Troop 127. He was also Scoutmaster for Troop 90, I believe it's Troop 90 in Pacific Grove. And, interesting fact is, that troop was the only scout troop that was chartered from England. They were trying to get a Boy Scout troop together in Pacific Grove, California. For whatever reason, they couldn't. The American Council was dragging its heels. So they said, hey, well, we want to continue scouting. So if you won't give us a charter or whatever, we'll go to the source. And they went to England and they got chartered in England. And basically, it was the only English chartered scout troop in America. I don't know ever, but for a long, long time, and then for whatever reason, I think they let it lapse, and then they rechartered under America, or maybe they just, as Boy Scout troops will come and go, membership wanes. Scouting isn't as cool sometimes as other times. So anyway, but he was in the war, and interesting read if you like biographies. And then the sixth book is The World of Kew, and this is Kew Gardens in England. And it's a great book. It's about these beautiful gardens. I'll show you some pictures. Hopefully you can see some of this. And the reason I brought this book out is about 18 years ago, I was taking some horticulture classes at City College in San Francisco. And as part of the class, you have to give a little presentation on whatever it was, like how to grow a cactus or houseplants or how to make, lemon popsicles, out of Meyer lemons or whatever. And this woman had been to Kew Gardens, and she did a presentation on it. And I found out that they had an apprentice program. So I decided, what the hell? It's in England. I'm going to apply. So I contacted them. I filled out the application. And basically, 17 years ago, so you could either email it, but I didn't really have the right computer. I had a slow computer, old computer wasn't really working. So I faxed the application, and it was many, many pages. I did it from a Kinko's, and it should have been about like $100 to do this thing. But the manager was really nice. I met her a couple times before, and I later found out that she was getting transferred to another Kinko's much further away from her house, and she wasn't really into that. And basically, she just charged me like $10 to send the whole thing to England, which I thought was very, very cool. Now, I didn't get the apprentice, but I didn't get the apprenticeship. It would have been going over there, and you spend you spend a time in different areas, like doing lawn, turf management, tree trimming, plant propagation, things like that. I now work for Rec and Park, and we have an apprentice program basically doing similar things, although, it's 17 years later. But I did get a job as a gardener here in the city, so it worked out well, and I did end up volunteering at the Striping Arboretum in Golden Gate Park for a few years. So, but I always have a fondness for Kew Gardens. If I ever get back to England, I was there in '88. I will definitely go to Kew and check it out. So anyway, so there's a little bit about me. And the third book, this one is also profitable. It's called Zoom. Wonderful concept. Took me a while to figure this out. So here we have it. And basically, you're zooming in on everything. We've got this picture, and it's like, okay, what the hell is that? And then you go, oh, it's the top of the rooster comb. All right. And then it's like, oh, two kids looking at the rooster. Okay, that's interesting. And then it's, okay, on a farm, looking through the doorway at the kids looking at the rooster. And then, okay, further, oops, further below out there. And then it's like you see these hands and you're like, oh, it's a diorama of a farm. Okay. And then it's like, oh, okay, there's this woman. And then someone's like, you see this hand and it's like, oh, it's a picture of this woman at the, diorama. It says toys, like a catalog. And it keeps going out and out and out. Book is called Zoom. I won't give away the ending, but it's worth about $3. So we have Zoom, one of the 7 books worth money. We have The World of Kew, about Kew gardeners. This is a BBC Books. BBC, if you're into gardening, there's a gardening magazine called BBC World or BBC Gardening World. Awesome book. They'll do stuff like, we review gardening spades, and they review like 30 gardening spades, wood and plastic, and you're just like, whoa. Anyway, Kew Gardens. Robert Baden-Powell, founder of Boy Scouts, war veteran, good read. Well, I'm assuming it's a good read. I haven't read it, but it's in the stack of books to look at. Unthinkable, Jamie Raskin. They said it's not worth money, but it is worth like $1.75. I got this book for free, so I'll probably send it in. There's postage, but I'll probably make $1. The sales ranking is pretty good, so if it sells and I make $1, hey, great. We have Rats, about all the rats in New York. Observations on the history and habitat. Prisoners of Geography. 10 maps that explain everything about the world. All right, there you go. Understand rap. You too can understand rap. All right, that's it. 7 books. Welcome to Bathroom Books. New cat shirt. Avocado. Seeds. Cats. Thanks, Linda. All right, that's it. New episode next week. Thanks.
Thank you.
Goodbye.